Hello there. Today I want to talk about a ship. Another ship. Part of the Clone Wars, part of the Galactic Republic, and that was immediately replaced in a couple of years during the Clone Wars by the Arc 170 Starfighter and by the V-Wing. Today we are going to be talking about the V-19 Torrent Starfighter, and we're going to be going over its pros, its cons, how it was made, the history behind this ship, and why exactly it was replaced so quickly during the time of the Clone Wars. So without further ado, here we go. But first, as always, we start with a little bit of a breakdown. The entirety of the V-19 Torrent Starfighter was originally created by Slane and Corporal, the engineering masters who created the B-Wing, the H-2 Executive Shuttle, and the MG-100 Star Fortress Heavy Bomber, which may actually be the reason why the ship actually wasn't really that good to begin with. The entirety of the ship was 6 meters in length, and the original variation of the Starship actually had an external ring for hyperdrives, but later on down the line in the second variant, it actually would be designed with an internal hyperdrive. That way, they wouldn't have to put so much money into hyperdrive rings for their starfighters. Along with that, the entirety of the ship was also designed with short range sensors, a navigational system, QY77.B avionics suite, along with 2 laser cannons and 2 concussion missile launchers with 6 concussion missiles apiece, and enough crew for 1 pilot, a week's worth of consumables, and 2 S-foils that can go either up or down depending on the positioning of the ship. Along with that, the entirety of the role of the ship was originally supposed to be a short-range starfighter, but it later became an interceptor after being introduced in 22 BPY against the Confederacy of Independent Systems during the Clone Wars. Along with that, the entirety of the ship itself would also be utilized by the Grand Army of the Republic and the Galactic Republic Navy, as well as the Confederacy of Independent Systems Navy after they were stolen, and they would also be utilized by the Galactic Empire and the Imperial Navy before they were shipped off and sent off to the scrapyards as they were being replaced by the TIE fighters. And immediately, all the way down the line, they were even used in the Resistance fleet during the time of the war against the actual First Order. But getting into the history of the ship itself, the V-19 Torrents were developed to compensate the LAAT gunships in effectiveness against droid fighters. In the early stages of the war, Anakin Skywalker led an entire squadron of V-19s and Y-Wings to attack separatist Vulture droids in the Corvair sector. The V-19s were also present during the Battle of Christopus, in which they were engaging with droid fighters on the planet, and they were very well used throughout the entirety of the early stages of the Clone Wars, as they would protect LAAT fighters as well as the Acclamator class assault ships from bombers and fighters alike that belonged to the Confederacy of Independent Systems. But unfortunately for the actual V-19 itself, it did go through kind of a temporary setback, as the V-19 was then quickly replaced by the actual V-Wing starfighter that was issued by the Grand Army of the Republic. The Alpha 3 Nimbus class V-Wing starfighter would then immediately replace the V-19s, and the V-19's usage and purpose was not really that good compared to the actual Alpha 3 Nimbus class V-Wing starfighters, as they were expertly thrown onto the field as some of the fastest starships and some of the most powerful starships in the entirety of the Grand Army of the Republic. And it would be fortunate for the V-19 Torrent starfighter that later on down the line during the time of the Empire, the actual starship itself would be used by several planetary defense forces, including the Botejev Defense Force, which mounted a rebellion against the Empire. Additionally, even many years after the Republic's reign, the Empire continued to use the V-19s despite their age for missions in the Outer Rim territories, and the starfighters still were very well respected, with Imperial officers recognizing the starfighters' versatility and durability. And that is actually just the whole history of the V-19 Torrent starfighter. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information on the actual V-19 Torrents themselves, so that was a very short video in regard to many of the other starfighters that I've already covered. I hope you guys liked this video, and I hope you guys really hit that like button, subscribe, share with all your friends and family, and I'll see you guys later. May the Force be with you.